little sad out there in the mud, but that's just me.
All right, we will leave it there. I want to get you to weigh in really quickly. My question was going to be, given what's going on in Quebec right now, is the biggest threat to Quebec Solidaire Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois?
On the contrary, I think he's the only thing that's going to keep it alive, because now, with a certain amount of frankness that's long overdue with Quebec Solidaire, he said we have a choice. We can be professional agitators, be professionally in opposition, okay, and have these internal fights.
Oh, look, your bone. Here. Real?
It's so funny because the PQ got a little nervous today. Pascal got a date that they're compromising their principles of the PQ.
Good? No? Not good enough. Oh, there's some arcane squirrels out there.
James Smith at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim. Go to traffic, CJD at Hunter Traffic Center. Check on your drive. There is Lauren Placer. Lauren?
Aaron, we're having a very tough time on the westbound side of the 20, Turcotte through to 55th Avenue, again before Morgan and Dale Perot. Eastbound side of the 20 escalates 55th to 1st Avenue. On the eastbound side of the Ville Marie, it is stopped after Turcotte runs through to St. Laurent. Southbound side of the Percy Bridge backing into Ville St. Pierre. Pretty tough on the westbound side of the map between VO and the Carry
I can't see any of them.
also seeing a lot of off and on volume. Mirabel. On the westbound side of the T-Can, it does have delays down Cavities to the 13. Morgan up to the Lakeport Bridge. But tell me that Percy blueberries and blackberries are only $1.77. It's a half price blueberries.
What? Hi.
So, let's get to it. We started the show with this. Jim Eddy just weighing in on what should happen next.
Rod.
This question to you.
Hey. Stop. Leave Rod alone.
Campus of McGill University. Today,
Get Rod.
additional protests as well happened, and thankfully, there was no violence. Everything went, it would seem, at least the day's not over, but for now, everything seems to, at least we're there. President Biden, they had since this thing got started. So far, you can say it's so good, and when I say so good, I mean just that. I mean, it's been nothing like what's happened in some U.S. campuses, right? With fights and police and arrests. Not here. The question is, what should happen next? And I want you to hear, if you didn't hear this earlier today, so this is earlier ago, and I know Jim wasn't impressed. Here's what Premier said with respect to
No, that's Rod.
this encampment at McGill.
Oh, Rod, I'm sorry. You okay, Jack? What's the matter? Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, it just bounced off the ground and hit him right in the noggin. Sorry, Rod.
You feel that it's so important to dismantle these encampments right now? There are people that are arguing for freedom of expression.
Because everybody in Quebec has to respect the laws. And right now,
Oh, poor guy. Oh, bounced right off the ground. Fucking clocked him on the fucking head. He was like, oh, making a face. Okay.
This is private property. McGill doesn't want them there. He thinks police when the time is right.
What's up, Jack? What? Mr. Snotty. What, mister? What, baby? Hey! What are you sniffing around for? Oh.
your partner starts to toss and turn, and you don't even notice. At Dormez-vous, sleep experts like me are here to help you fall asleep and stay asleep no matter the disturbance with our wide assortment of motion control mattresses.
Right now at the Do Not Disturb event, get a queen mattress for the hot price of $479 until Sunday, only at Dormez-vous. This May, experience the magic of film music like never before. Join the Film Harmonic Orchestra for an unforgettable evening celebrating the legendary scores of John Williams with classics like Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Indiana, Harry Potter, and more. Immerse yourself in the timeless melodies that have defined generations. Hear the soaring strings, epic brass, and iconic themes live. Don't miss this May 17th and 18th at Place des Arts Wilfrid Peltier. Tickets at gfnproductions.ca.
Hey Canada, Tim's Small Cookie is back to make a difference in your community. Get yours from now until May 5th. 100% of proceeds will go to over 600 local charities and community groups. See you at Tim's, a participating restaurant in Canada for a limited time.
Tonight on CTV News.
We'll be live from McGill campus with the latest on the protests and the police presence, plus the leadership crisis at Quebec Solidaire. Those stories.
The first tent should have never been allowed to set
You're
up. If
awful,
there were
bitch.
homeless people setting up tents on McGill, would they be allowed?
McGill itself should go and do an injunction and say, look, this is private property, we want you out of here.
Where is the mayor plant in all this?
Doesn't anybody work in this city?
I just don't see this as promoting peace on any level.
Private property, the last time I looked, paying tuition doesn't give you a camping permit.
It has to end. It's disrupting everyday life and everyday stuff.
Declared illegal, they should have to be forced to, that's all.
So a lot of one opinion, huh? Get them out, move them out. This is enough. It's gone on long enough. Time to go. They're on private property. One after another after another. What do you think? That's my question today. We are to day 6 of this encampment at McGill by pro-Palestinian protesters. What should happen next? Time for police to move in and clear it. They say they're not going anywhere, by the way. When the university reached out after the injunction yesterday failed by 2 students, the university said, look, okay, we're ready to see what it is you want to discuss in an open forum, but that you leaving. Students said, not happening. And when I say students, by the way, they're not all, we think we've established that already. They're not all McGill students. There are some agitators we think in there as well. Regardless, it's private property. McGill wants them off. What should happen next? 790-0800, 514-800 for your call. Let me go.
You know, Aaron, we're a law of okay, and we have the right to speak, but we don't have the right to occupy private property. And as far as I'm concerned, the police should move in or get them out of there.
Okay. David, thank you for the call. All right.
Hey, why are you guys?
I think it's definitely time for them to leave. They won't receive their wants to welcome, but the students need to get back to the business of learning.
Okay, I'm guessing these particular students are not really interested in the business of learning. And as I said before, I wonder though, Peter, to that point, for the other thousands of students who go to McGill, we're coming up on final exam time, I guess, if they're not being disrupted, and I'm not sure what's generally being disrupted, you still think they should be forced to leave?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you. Matthew, tell me what you think.
Well, good morning, or afternoon, sorry. To be quite honest with you, I'm in agreement with everyone else saying that they should go, being private property. But I also want to point out that the actual conversation behind this is very much subdued, seeing how we very recently had a previous supposed occupation in the trucker convoy protest in Ottawa, where people were absolutely furious, whereas now the conversation is, well, maybe they should stay. I just wanted to point out the differences between 2 and how they are also similar in the same way.
But based on that, we know the disruption that, the Freedom Convoy, this disruption so far, if you want to call it that, downtown of the kind of limited. I'm not taking sides here. I'm asking you. I want to know what you think. So given that, though, you still think they should be forced to leave?
I do think they should be forced to leave, yes.
Fair enough. Matthew, thank you. Let me take one more. Laura, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they should be forced to leave as long as they're peaceful. I don't know about the agitators. They should be asked to leave, but I think the students, they attention, and as long as we're giving them attention, they're not moving. So why not just ignore them?
How do you ignore them? By simply pretending they're not there. There's no encampment going on.
First of all, can you guys get someone on the radio for an opinion who's not in their golden age, please? The second part of it is, you guys are only taking calls of people who are like seniors. Just saying.
And then you go in and you take care of the students after that and try to evict them because they are on private property, and you also
School private property. School, meaning public, like the other people go there, even people who are not students. I used to do that all the time when I had time to kill. I would just go sit in classes. Not in McGill, obviously, but.
This is not the Canadian way. The war is not in Canada. People and protest peacefully, but no encampments. That's
The best part about all of this, you guys really genuinely don't seem to understand what a protest is and the point of a protest. The whole point is to disrupt. It is to get people to pay attention.
in CTV. The number of people there has also shrunk. So the people who were out there at noon today, many of them have gone back or gone home. So,
Okay.
I mean, everyone wants this to end peacefully, and I think that's sort of what we're looking at right now. But what do you think should happen? I've yet to hear, really, what do we have? One person suggested, no, we ought to let them stay there. Everybody else is get them out, move, get rid of them. They're on private property. They have to leave. They've made their point. What do you think? 790-0800-514-800 for your text when we come back.
Good afternoon. For the CTV News update, no reports of violence and counter-protests outside McGill over the lunch hour and into the early afternoon. Pro-Israel groups faced off against pro-Palestinian protesters. A heavy police presence kept things from getting out of hand. Premier François Legault says police need to move in to dismantle the pro-Palestinian McGill tent encampment. He says made it clear it wants the protesters to leave to police to decide when to move in. And scientists say they recorded the first ever case of a wild orangutan applying a medicinal plant to treat a wound. A field biologist in Indonesia observed the animal pluck and chew up leaves of a medicinal plant used to treat pain and finger to apply the juices to an injury on its cheek. Press the chewed plant to cover the open wound like a bandage. With the latest from the CJAD 800 Traffic Center, here's Lauren Glazer.
We are having a tough time on the westbound side of the Matlack Cordillera through to DeCarry. Also delays northbound Laurentian between Notre 13. It's tough. Take more on Riverassa again between the 40. Difficult drive westbound side of the T-Can Cavendish to the 13 again. Chemin St. Marie all the way out to the Village Fort Bridge. The westbound side of the 20, it's tough from Turcotte to Norman against St. John's to St. Charles, and now after Woodland running into El Perel. Outbound side of the Mercier Bridge, you are backing into Ville St. Pierre due to the demonstrations at McGill. We are still seeing a closure on Sherbrooke between Mansfield and University. You get a 20,000 points at Farmer Free when you open your BC Optimum app. Shop, scan, and earn. That's a $20 value. Starts Friday. Conditions in app. Traffic and transit every 15 minutes on CJAD 800. Your next report at 4:45.
Your Dormez Weather Center forecast partly cloudy tonight, below 7 degrees, mainly sunny tomorrow, the high 19, and Saturday cloudy and the high 19. It's 13 downtown. Your next CTV News update is at 5 o'clock.
It's brought to you by Bust a
What,
Move
Mr.
Moving. Are you moving soon? Shake off that stress. Hire the pros at Bust a Move Moving. Free estimates at bustamovemoving.com.
It takes 4 or 5 different professionals to renovate a bathroom. Hiring them separately, organizations like there, unless you use Ronaldo Renovations. Ronaldo specializes in beautiful bathrooms, and all it takes is one project manager to organize all the directly with Ronaldo's professional designers and you. Fully licensed, bonded, and insured, Ronaldo renovations are done right the first time. 514-856-9993. RENOVCO.com. Your afternoon lineup on CJAD 800 includes a former PQ leader,
A former cabinet minister,
and a former leader of the opposition, Jean-Francois Lisée,
David Hurtad,
and Tom Mulcair.
3 political heavyweights.
3 differing points of view.
Weekdays at
Which
5
one of it?
on CJAD 800.
Brought to you by
Right?
Guaranteed Industries.
The warm weather is fast approaching. Call the pros at Guaranteed Industries for air conditioning installation, service, or maintenance. 514-342-3400.
I'm gonna fucking cry. What? Yeah, but maybe calm down for a bit. You're gonna get all fucking sneezy. You're gonna start reverse sneezing. Yeah, I know, but you're gonna get all reverse sneezy. You're done with the fucking cards for kids that can't spell.
Distilling firm people
Oi.
is not peaceful protest.
Relax.
It's against the law.
Chill.
Dissent is essential to democracy.
Okay?
But dissent must never lead to disorder or to denying the rights of a semester in their college education. Look, fairness. There's the right to protest,
Whoa.
but not the right to cause chaos.
There you go. That's my show, Mayor Felber. I mean, that's U.S.
Ah!
President Joe Biden on the situation that, of course, has spread across U.S. campuses as well and turned violent, at least in a couple of cases, more than a couple now. No Columbia University, for example, at UCLA. Not here. Here it has been peaceful up until now. There has been chanting. There have been anti-Semitic slogans as well at some point in this, in the entire. Today, police were out there because they feared the worst. We had 2 other groups out there protesting today against first the ones in the encampment, we'll call them the original protesters. Then today, they're pro-Israeli protesters, counter-protesters, and then another group supporting the Palestinians, so another counter-protest group. Nothing happened. Yelling back and forth, chanting back and forth, but eventually it all sort of ended peacefully, and that's where we are right now. Problem is, nothing has changed. So we have now entered day 6 of this encampment at McGill. The university wants them off their grounds. They said they'll talk to them if they leave. The protesters have said, we're not leaving. Sorry. Either we get what we want, or we're going nowhere. That's the stalemate we've arrived at now.
That's
but
what the protest
it would
is.
seem to me whether McGill decides to file an injunction or just to call police
What's
and
that?
say, okay, these people are trespassing. They're on our private property. They have to
You're
leave.
gonna get all
And Drew
reverse
Rennie made the point that I
sneezy.
think
It's
he's
not
right.
my
At that point,
fault.
police would have to say, well, okay, we will
We
do
wait
that.
a little
But
bit.
it shows that this is a threat of some kind. Is someone being harmed here?
Hmm?
Has someone been spewing hate? Something that would have to be conditions for them
We'll
to just
hang
walk in
around
and
for a
do
little
I
bit.
think. I don't know. But I'm asking
Oh,
you, what
maybe.
should happen here? And I know many of you have said the same thing in text messages. If they were sitting on someone else's lawn on private property, you'd pick up a phone, call police, and they'd be escorted off. Why would it be any different at McGill? And by virtue of them saying, well, this is our university, it's not their university. It's the university of the thousands of people who go to McGill, not the 100 that are there.
Oh,
protesting.
excuse me, what,
So
the
what should
thousands
happen
of
next?
immigrants?
Nothing should happen. They'll sit there for as long as they want to sit there. You think if the university is not going to give in, and it's highly unlikely that they will, this idea of BDS, right? They're going to stay there indefinitely? They're going to live there? What should happen next? 790-0800, 514-800 for your text. Let's go up here to Steve. Steve, what do you think?
I think they should leave. It is private property.
Okay, really? Like, honestly?
I'm not even sure really who the protesters are. How many are students? How many?
You guys are too much today, like. Doing well, thanks. Same to you. What? What? Why? What? What is going on?
This is the book. It is the most beautifully illustrated. Right.
Thanks so much for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. What a privilege it is to be in your company, in the front line of an extraordinary war between peculiar forces. Is there a glorious essence accessible to us all through our consciousness? Is there purpose that can be derived from our apparently meaningless time here on this plane? And how will we against the marshalling forces of evil that seem to have some dark agenda in mind, even though there are rare moments of unity and unification? Gaz Faz in the Rumble chat says he's not been late since the baptism. That is it. I've been baptized into punctuality, baby. Wherever you're watching us now, ultimately we will be available exclusively in that sweet stream of freedom that we call Rumble. There's a stream to of the slurry of YouTube, the system of central, part of the Trusted News Initiative, part of the empire, part of the institutions of damnation. We come there only to recruit. We come there only to invite you to join us in a place freely where we can find new forms of unity, unified but decentralized against the establishment, free to become who he would have us become. What pathways we will explore together today. Our main story, because you voted for it, is we're looking at the WHO treaty and the conflating that with the investigations in and in particular just how deep it goes. When I first heard the idea that dual-purpose research was a form of engineering, the implementation and investigation into bioweapons, that microbial war was part of the future, that the new American Century Project that's affecting your life and my life and creating wars right now was connected to the actions of Anthony Fauci, I was first confused, then aroused, then confused again. Then I remembered, some of those pins and scarves and balloons with his face on, and I thought, maybe Anthony Fauci is a hero. His knowledge of bioweapons goes back to at least 2002. Excuse me, I'm way off. 2002. And let me say this: I got to ask you something. Of the 90 leaders of Operation Warp Speed, which was obviously the invention and implementation of, let's call them vaccines for now, we're still on YouTube. How many of those 90 do you think were military personnel? Do you think 10 were? 5 were? Just a handful? None of them? It's nothing to do with the military? We'll be telling you the answer to that a little later. Let me know in the Rumble chat. Or let me know in the Awakened Wonder chat. If you're not an Awakened Wonder yet, become one, because we make exclusive content every single week. This week we're doing a video on Operation Mockingbird, which is the long understood demonstrated improvement infiltration of CIA and deep state assets into old school media since its advent has been a tool of the state. A cudgel, bludgeoning you into ignorance and compliance, but no more. In exchange for the occasional Super Bowl or soap opera, they demand our tolerance, our obedience, and our stupidity. But now the shackles have been cast aside, haven't they? Out here in the realms of independent media, where we flow freely together. We got a roundup now of some of the news stories around the world. Speak the King's English. Oh, you're arguing with each other there in that Rumble chat. There's some good stuff going on in there. We'll be talking about the Middle Eastern conflict. Don't worry about that. We are conveying a lot of truth and a lot of opportunity for conversation, because truth is surely together. Anyway, lots of good news before WHO and Fauci and free speech and a whole host of significant topics. Did you know, and can you believe, and do you even accept that May is Masturbation Month? I mean, why do we need a Masturbation Month? Do we? I mean, I'm sure sometimes I see things in that chat that lead me to believe that it's masturbation time all year round. As you know, it's not something that I engage in. You Awaken Wonders there. Get involved in the chat. I'm saying hello to you, Blessed Old Bird, and Curious Camilla. What's this? President Bill Clinton fired Surgeon General just now for suggesting masturbation ought to be taught as part of the sex ed curriculum. Well, you would say that, Bill. You would say that, Bill. His position is well understood when it comes to matters carnal, isn't it? Okay, so the fish are at it in California. They're going absolutely crazy. More Republicans are shooting their dogs. Oh, he's not shot his dog. He tied his dog. Mitt Romney tied his dog in a kennel to the roof of his car for a cross-country trip, but at least he didn't shoot it. What's going on in your country with that stuff? And you're talking about the Middle East. You're talking about Palestine. You're talking about Israel. Could it ever bring people together? Evidently, it can. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel protesters unite to chant, "Fuck Joe Biden." Pro-Palestinian protesters and pro-Israel counter-protesters chanted, "Fuck Joe Biden." That's a little bit like that football match, that reported and legendary football match in the First World War on Christmas Day in no man's land. The German troops and British troops temporarily put aside their differences for a friendly game of football. And in that same spirit, people from across the world, from across the political spectrum, geopolitical arguments in wanting to fuck Joe Biden, and Ben Shapiro spotted that, and I've commented on it. And look at this, federalism, decentralization, subsidiarity, representative democracy, all potential solutions to the chaos and decay, unified in our rejection of this emblem of corruption and attitude, a glimmer of hope. Yeah, it's like I wrote a little poem there. It was a matter of moments ago that I did that. There's marvel in it. Should we marvel together in a moment? A kind of a new secession, a new federalism of unity in rejection of Joe Biden. Maybe there's a way through this. Maybe there's a pathway. Maybe if we look inside ourselves, even those that we most strongly disagree with, we may find some ember of the unity. Maybe we put together new fires, new lights, new optimism. One thing I want to make clear, I think that what I'm going to do, if I'm going to spend a little time in a clothing manufacturing facility, and then I'm going to just keep my mouth shut about anything I find in there, have you noticed how often people that know problems at Boeing die suddenly, extraordinarily? So I don't know if it's more dangerous to get on a Boeing aircraft or to complain about how they're making them. The former quality auditor of Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems, who turned whistleblower, has died after a sudden illness, his family announced on Tuesday. Josh Lane had accused Spirit of ignoring defects in the production of the 737 MAX series, whose reputation had been marred by a series of crashes and safety issues in recent years. So if you've got a problem with Boeing, keep quiet about it, is my advice to you. Just go in there, polish your plane, and approve of it. Apparently, Donald Trump doesn't know how to say the word vegan. What is he trying to say? What is he actually trying to say here?
But I want to thank Shannon. We'll get out. We're going to go there during. You get ready for me. Maybe you can convince me with that vegan food, okay? You get a good, healthy vegan food.
Right now we're talking about Trump, we're talking about vegan food. Come over, join us. We're having a hell of an adventure over in this place. Join us. Hey, why is it that odd that he speaks in that way? This is an odd claim made by Trump. He's saying that Evan Gershkovich would be immediately freed. Are there any other journalists that should be freed? Any other publishers of information anywhere in the world that should be freed? Apparently, Evan Gershkovich would be freed if I would get him released immediately, he says. The report would be released, get released immediately. Let's have a look at Trump struggling, grappling to pick up a pen.
Give me a pen, somebody. Let's get Uncle Sam taken care of. Come on. Give me a pen.
I gotta get a pen. Let's go. Yeah, good. Just throw it up. Give me a pen. Some extraordinary spontaneity right there from Donald Trump. Hey, you guys, I think we're going to got to show a little bit of Alex Jones, which I don't think we can show on YouTube. So listen, we're going to leave YouTube. Click the link in the description. Come on over and join us. Consider becoming an Awake and Wonder. It's a beautiful community. We meditate together. We do a book club together. We make exclusive content on issues that matter. So, but for right now, you're going to have to click the link in the description. Go on YouTube because we've got Alex Jones talking about Israel. And yeah, those of you that are saying stand with Palestine, there's some stuff that you're going to love. So click the link in the description. Get off YouTube. Get over to Rumble. We'll see you in a second. Let's see what Alex Jones is saying, shall we? Because I think he's pretty.
Ils ont noté une accumulation d'énergie électromagnétique de cette pyramide.
Oh my god. Please.
Democracy. Just recently, the German head of the Social Democrats, he went on public TV and said, AFD, the Alternative for Germany, is a Nazi party. Now, whatever you think of the AFD, they're not a Nazi party. There are many things, but they're not a Nazi. It's a lie, right? It's a blatant lie. But you make this because then you can justify what they're trying to do, which is to ideally ban them before the next election. So they use the lie that they are Nazis and the threat to democracy to ban the most significant opposition party, which I would argue is the one true attack on democracy. Because what is democracy is not having different political parties with opposing views, but they want to ban them. The same in the United States. Everybody of the viewers who lives in the United States knows that most of these court cases against Donald Trump are a sham, right? I mean, they're a joke. The idea that if a politician to conceive an extramarital affair, I mean, it's not something that I condone generally from a moral perspective, but the idea that this is a campaign finance violation, I mean, this is all ridiculous. These are attempts to keep the opposition off the ballot. And it is frustrating that so many people play along with it.
But in Europe, it's even more insidious because the media is complicit with lies.
Yes.
They're awful. In Europe, just as bad as in the United States.
But now politicians want to regulate speech, and they even are giving themselves power inside Europe. As far as your text messages, they think that they should be able to control the message, even person to person, not just the media. The media they've got on lock in Europe. To me, it's about as shameful as it can be here in Europe. But now they're going to go even further so that you and I cannot think this together. Why are we standing for this?
I have to admit, this is a big problem, right? It's because for many people, this is unfortunately also an issue. You and I, we are, politics junkies. We do nothing but talk and engage in politics. But many people, that's not their own fault. They just rely on the mainstream and legacy media because this is what they get used to. So we have a kind of brainwashing going on that takes place almost on an unconscious level because it's much, much more difficult, particularly also for the older generation, but others of the younger generation as well, to get access to what is very often called in a negative way, but I'd see it as a positive thing, the so-called alternative media. So this is really going to be a battle, and they, as you exactly just pointed out, and they try, the legacy media and their kind of political allies, they try to regain the role of gatekeepers of information. And it's all these weird terms they use: hate speech, disinformation, misinformation. One of my all-time favorite is the so-called malinformation, which is defined as information that is objectively true, but could be used in a negative way. So, for example, if you and I say, we have a problem with migration, objectively true, but the way in which Natalie and Rob say that could be hurtful to some people, so better not let them say. The same we see now when you look at the war in Ukraine, right? Everybody who says, man, it looks like things on the front are not looking as good as they told us a year ago, then you are a Putin stupid. Even though it is objectively correct, and even the Ukrainians themselves admit that the war is not going, they were hoping it was going. And then Corona, the COVID vaccination, the same thing. Now, more and more evidence is coming out, completely understandable, that there is not a single medical that has a 100% success rate, that has a 100% zero side effect rate. So the truth is not coming out, but once again, it might be, we shouldn't talk about it because it's denial of science. Climate change, the same thing, right? We kind of know now, if you go back to newspaper articles 20, 25 years ago, what's all going to happen. New York will be underwater, real estate is going to collapse in Miami because half the city will be underwater. And of course now people justifiably so say, well, you told us 25 years ago the world is going to end in 20 years. We are now 5 years over the expiration date of the planet. But I mean, if we look around, we're all still here. And in many ways, if you look at Florida, we're doing better than we did before. So people are skeptical. So next step is we'll have to ban those skeptical opinions. So this is really one of the major battles we have to fight in the future, because it will be very hard to have an open political process if debate can no longer take place. And allow me one final point. I always disagreed with Donald Trump when he said that the 2020 election was stolen, in the sense of, that somebody carried in ballots 5 minutes after midnight. So this is not something I never, I might be wrong, but it's something I never believe. But if they rigged the game, like when it comes to how information was, information was allowed, I'm sure that most remember when the Hunter Biden story was actively suppressed. We know now that another, I think a brother of Joe Biden, is in very significant financial dealings with Qatar. Right? So all of these stories, they have to actively suppress. I think NPR, which supposedly, an objective public broadcaster, like they said, they will not, they sent out this tweet and saying, they will not bother their viewers and listeners with stories that are not real, that are irrelevant, which was the Hunter Biden. An active attempt to suppress or to true information that would have been crucial. If I want to know if the son of the president is taking bribes from foreign governments, I think that's a very relevant information. I mean, we were told in Trump's case that whatever Jared Kushner does is relevant, which I also think is relevant, but I think it's just as relevant in this case. And this is a real problem because they try to clamp down even all of the new head of NPR is basically a crazy. To check out the work that Chris Rufo has been doing on her. I mean, this is like in a satirical play.
Yes. You're right about this, but I like your theory about how it hangs on Trump as a figurehead, because if they point out how other people lie, they can't have as much fun with Trump, and they can't support an agenda, because the media did have an appetite to question Obama and all of his wars on the Middle East, all the blood he caused, the bloodshed he caused in Syria and other places, Somalia and those kind of things. At least the media was willing to ask questions. What's Obama doing there? admit that he's arming moderates. But, you know, it wasn't to call him an outright liar as fun as much as it was for Trump. So if we have these figureheads, these Boris Johnsons, these Donald Trumps, that we can say, well, they're blatant liars, the rest of them not so much, then it gives them a power that maybe we hadn't foreseen.
Oh, you're absolutely right. But even in the case of Barack Obama, who I still think would be a fantastic guy to have to deal with, but when it comes to the truth, I mean, he also had issue with it. I remember, I think he had written his life for all of them are biographies of himself. I mean, that's an intriguing business model.
Yeah, why you don't have a beer with someone like that who's just
well, I just would find him, and I think I'm not the only one, I would find him likable. I would find his time as president for the United States very problematic. I think he's a nicer guy than he was a president.
Oh, well, if you were Syrian, you might not think that. I mean, the thing with, I bought all of the stuff about the criticism of Obama with racism. I believed that for 8 years. But once he left, and I studied his history of upping the drone wars in the Middle East and how hypocritical and deadly that was, I don't think I want 2 years with Barack Obama. But you can have one, and then you ask him about his murderous record.
But then he said, I think he was writing that his uncle in Indonesia, I think it was also an uncle, I don't want to lie. But there was a story that he died as a resistance fighter against the Dutch, and then his biographer wrote, well, the story doesn't tell he actually died because he fell off a chair when he was hanging up curtains. When another story was about his white girlfriend while he was in Colombia, which then was known as a so-called composite girlfriend, when it turned out that that woman never existed, but it was kind of what it would have been if you would have had a girlfriend. I mean, this is also how my dating life works, right? It's most imaginary girlfriends, but you can see, like, this was always just well, they say all these things, it's not really a lie, it's creative, and they're such, and there I agree with you, it's just, this argument is, they're just such good guys in every respect, and it's okay if they bend the truth. Whereas again, as I said, if Donald Trump made a joke, it was the end of the world. And it's as you say, it's frustrating. Yeah.
There was a podcast recently with Jason Bateman and who are the dudes? You know, these 3 actors that did a podcast with, let's see, Obama, Biden, Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah.
And who was Bush there? I think Bush was there. We'll put the image up on the screen. I think we have it. But that really upset me because they all are getting these coolness points, and all 4 of them are murderers. And so they're like, hey, look at us Hollywood actors. You know, we're going to talk about how we really love America and we're better than most people. But they're murderers and they're liars, and they are given this status, celebrity status, that really just made me so sad. So if you are ever invited to something like that, you go. I'm not gonna. And you ask the questions. Why are you guys?
In my defense, because at the same time when the event I think the Donald Trump was in New York at the wake of a slain police officer. I always find in these stories that Donald Trump is much more authentic and relatable than anybody else. I always find the obsession that particularly politicians on the left have with celebrities disgusting. I think we ruled by politicians and not by wannabe celebrities. I always find this, as if I might say this a little bit in defense of Donald Trump, I find this so funny. He was a celebrity, but it doesn't, necessarily seek out their attention. But I just recently, there was, I think it was Drew Barrymore, and I'm not sure which movies it was after E.T., and that was almost 30 years ago, and she had Kamala Harris on, and she said Kamala, I think she had Mamala Harris, because she must be the mother of the nation, which is, I find this idea that the president or the vice president has to be the mother of the nation, that is a personality cult. And Joe Biden was on with Howard Stern, and Howard Stern said, I'm so glad you're on with me, because you are the father this nation needs. And I said, well, no, I know many Trump supporters. I don't know a single Trump supporter who ever said, man, Trump, that's the father of the nation. Nobody would ever say such a thing. It would be ridiculous, and it's just even more ridiculous for any other politician. That's a personality cult. The personality cult has always been on the left, and it has always been worse with the media. I remember one last example, actually 2 examples, if I may. One was, he was David Brooks in the New York Times, and he said, well, did you know that Obama will be a great president because
because the waist pants are perfectly greased. It's completely absurd. And the other one, Andrew Sullivan, whom I generally like very much, who said that yes, when Obama becomes president, like this will be a massive shift in the world because every person in Pakistan who sees that the United States made a person of color president, they will immediately switch their position and their opinion on the United States. And as you correctly pointed out, I don't think that the people who have been drones in Yemen care a lot whether or not the president gave the order to send those drones is black or white. I think it's the drones that matter to them, not to send them. But this is the absurdity you have so often in the media. They are they always accuse the right of a personality cult. They accuse the right of being susceptible to authoritarian figures, but it's exactly the other way around. Everything they claim about the other side is what they do themselves. It's really a mirror image. And as I said before, the same is true about the so-called threats to democracy. You have from the United States to Germany and in Austria as well. The governing parties try to weaponize the legal system against the opposition parties because the opposition parties are supposedly a threat to democracy. But what they are doing is an actual threat to democracy. And the same with Donald Trump. If you look at the things that Joe Biden did, of executive orders, or his insane plan to cram down mandatory vaccinations of 80 million Americans, but Donald Trump was the authoritarian. Like this, and it's the complete opposite. And I think we need to point this out more and more because I do know that many people, independents, low propensity voters, people are not immersed in these political debates. They just get the information from the surface, and then they say, well, both of them seem bad, but probably the guy the media says is worse. He's actually worse. And I think we have as much as we can.
All right, well, we're going to keep doing that. Look, we see lies or lies. People can share it. I mean, little things we can do. Retweet it when you see that that's a lie. The little things like that. Tell your friends when they share an article. These things are lies. These are the small ways that we can expand reason in our age of unreason. So thank you so much for all of this, Ralph. It was great. And we're going to do our best to make sure we live in a society equal.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
All right, well, let us know if you would have a beer with the murderous Obama. Go ahead.
I'd have a lot of questions. If he's invited the beer, I'd have a lot of questions for him.
You would attend, yeah.
I would
okay,
attend.
all right.
As a journalist, I would attend.
Okay,
I have a lot of questions. I bring a binder full of questions.
okay. I don't want
As
to go.
long as he's footing the bill.
It's okay if I sit this one out.
You can
Do
sit
I
it
have
out.
to go? All right, well, that's going to do it for us at Redacted this week. We will have shows all throughout the weekend, so please content to keep visiting the channel, if you will.
And we have a newsletter. You should please subscribe to the newsletter. It's fantastic. It'll be back on Monday morning. We deliver it to your inbox. Just go to redacted.inc. Put in your, not .com. So I can't find it. It's .inc. Put in your email address, and then you will receive a welcome email from me, spam, or to your junk folder. Confirm it, and receive the newsletter first thing Monday morning when we publish the next round of it. Sorry, just got the hiccups there. Very excited about the Redacted newsletter. Redacted.inc. Grab your free newsletter. Perfect way to start your day. So, thanks, guys. Have a great weekend, everyone. Again, we'll see you back here live on Monday, and we have content throughout the weekend. Have a great be safe, be kind to each other, and with Barack Obama.
I mean, if you want to.
You want to. Or Big Mike. Bye, everyone.
To the back, to the back.
inside of real outdoor. Oh, I know you like to think your shit don't stink, but lean a little bit closer. See that roses really smell like boom, Roses really smell like boom, Ah, ah. I know you like to think your shit don't stink. Lean a little bit closer. See that roses really smell like boom.
Avec ton vieux compte bancaire, tu payais des frais. Tu faisais aucun intérêt. La banque occupe des intérêts élevés et pas de frais sur les services bancaires courants. T'en as plus pour ton argent. C'est vrai, mon vieux compte, c'est un peu comme ton secret, madame. Et là. Now, this program, I'm not supposed to have a favorite regular, but I confess I do, and it's this next guest. Is the best-selling author of groundbreaking works, The War on the West, one of the best books you will read, The Madness of Crowds, and The Strange Death of Europe. Douglas Murray, let's start in Australia this week. We have the Albanese government going to war against Elon Musk, desperately trying to censor and even ban what they consider violent or hateful or even harmful content. The Australian Prime Minister has called Elon Musk arrogant. The Affairs Minister has called him a megalomaniac. And we even have Senator Jackie Lambie, who wants to throw Elon Musk in jail. So when it comes to the tech billionaire, like I've already said, I think he's a social media knob with no social conscience. He has absolutely no social conscience. Someone like that should be in jail, and they can't be thrown. They have a right to be out there on his own ideology platform. Throw him in jail and throw away the key. Douglas, how important is X as a free speech platform, and should be?
A UNC virologist who's collaborated on research with the Wuhan Institute of Virology's Shizhe Li told congressional investigators he has long been worried about biosafety protocols inside China, according to very revealing by Vanity Fair. Now, in January, this coronavirologist, Ralph Barrett, testified before two GOP-led House committees that are investigating the origins of COVID-19. Now we're finally getting some testimony from that. Ralph Barrett had repeatedly told Peter Daszak, other people involved in the funding and financing of coronavirus research in China, that after COVID-19 broke, he said, you can't rule out the lab origin, you just can't. He said the Wuhan lab in particular had insufficient biosafety standards. He said the paper cited as evidence that the wet market origin is the explanation, said that is not persuasive. Clearly the market was a conduit, he wrote, for expansion. Is that where the pandemic started? I don't think so. Barrett said while he thinks it is statistically more likely that COVID-19 originated from nature, he could not at all rule out the possibility of an accidental lab leak because of what he considers dangerously inappropriate levels of biosafety in China. Joining us now to discuss is Emily Kopp, an investigative journalist with U.S. Right to Know, who has covered the COVID-19 pandemic extensively and is looking into its origins. Great to have you with us to break down some really interesting news on this front.
Great to be here.
So Ralph Barrett has been, one of the names, one of the characters involved in this drama of working out where COVID came from and, what the U.S. government did do at one point and how the experts who kind of aligned with Fauci were able to change the narrative to no, it really couldn't have been a lab origin. What have we learned in these last 2 days as we find out the reservations? It seems that he was expressing all the while, as this is happening, very concerned with biosafety in Wuhan.
Right. I mean, Ralph Barrett is probably the world's leading coronavirus virologist. He innovated a lot of techniques around engineering synthetic viruses to see what they would do and making them more pathogenic or infectious. And he also collaborated closely with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So it's a major revelation that in private emails in 2020, he appears to have been agonizing over the fact that some of the work proposed around, again, doing this sort of gain of function virology that makes viruses more dangerous was being undertaken in a BSL-2 lab. And just for context for your viewers, BSL-2 labs don't have adequate viruses. And of course, we know SARS-CoV-2 is, if they had found something like a progenitor to SARS-CoV-2 and had been working with furin cleavage sites or doing other sort of tinkering to make it more dangerous, that would have been an inadequate biosafety level. It's unfortunate that we're only discovering this because there is a committee investigation and because they subpoenaed his records and because he was dragged into, this hearing room and so, having to testify. I wish the American scientists who were most familiar with the work going on in Wuhan before the pandemic had raised their hands early on and said, we have these concerns. And instead they let the narrative dominate that it was conspiratorial to even.
Well, how significant the gap between his private reservations or ambivalence about the possibility that lab leak theory could be real and his public statements really were. Was he basically not saying anything about COVID origin all of this time, or was he affirmatively saying that he did not think that there was any possibility that lab leak theory could be real, while privately saying, well, yeah, it's absolutely a possibility?
Oh, right. Well, Barrick has been a little bit of an enigma, being this world-leading expert in coronaviruses. People want, but given the scrutiny of his collaboration with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, he sort of receded. He did give a briefing to congressional staffers, people who had a lot of influence over, the policies we were going to implement in subsequent weeks in around February 2020. And I think he meant and mentions wet markets and doesn't mention the way we were looking at viruses just like SARS-CoV-2 at our partner lab a couple miles away. He didn't volunteer the information that they were particularly interested in a lot of the features that we see in the genome of the novel coronavirus, including the furin cleavage site, including the fact that its spike was 10 to 25% different than SARS, which is exactly what they were intending to research immediately before the pandemic. I think you could argue he misled congressional aides in February 2020, but then he sort of receded from public view. It's also clear from his testimony that he gave to congressional investigators that he was speaking to Fauci very early on. He was speaking to some of the virologists who would later go on to say very publicly that the lab leak theory was communicate to them what he was communicating to other scientists around his concerns about the biosafety level. Was he being that candid with people who were influencing public discussion and public policy? I don't think he was. So that's interesting.
Right. It's interesting. He was being very candid with Peter Daszak, right? As far as I can tell, he was telling Peter Daszak, head of EcoHealth Alliance and like the foremost defender of gain of function research, that, are you kidding me? These safety standards in China are woefully inadequate. You think this couldn't have happened there? You're totally wrong. That's some pretty frank language he's using with the other very significant name in the whole potential lab leak origin dialogue.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't insult my intelligence by telling me that BSL-2 is adequate for this sort of work. I wish I'd done the patriotic thing and people that he had these concerns very early on. So that's unfortunate. And I think, speaking of Daszak and his testimony yesterday, in addition to having the world's leading coronavirus virologists having these concerns about the biosafety level in Wuhan, we also have sort of very closely with the Wuhan Institute of Virology after some pretty, I think, skilled cross-examination that, yes, the Wuhan lab does have viruses that are not published. They have possibly up to 3 years of virus hunting expeditions and discoveries that they have not published in the scientific. In addition, a huge departure from public narrative for many years that all of their work is public. There's no way that they could have a progenitor to SARS-CoV-2 in their freezers. When push came to shove and Daszak was actually presented with the facts, he was sort of compelled to admit, yeah, it's possible that they have viruses that we're not familiar with. So I think these two pieces of information coming from probably the two scientists with the most information is a huge break in the story.
Your organization, U.S. Right to Know, was written about in Politico, I saw this week, where they had their scientific expert attacking your efforts to get more information, your journalism to get more information about what happened, saying that it's deliberate malignorance and it's been incredibly harmful. So angering people on the other side of this debate, or I guess who just don't think there even should be a debate.
Well, I think I disagree. I think that, well, I disagree with the characterization of me, obviously. That there are a group of virologists who saw the potential for career advancement by defending legacy, protecting NIAID, which others in virology grants, and who stake their reputation on the pandemic starting at the wet market and any other theory being a conspiracy theory. And many of them did that very early on before we had much of this other evidence. And I think possibly detrimental to their careers, but to public health or anything like that. I think, my only motive is to help us prevent this from ever happening again. So, yeah.
We want to prevent it from happening again, and I just want to know the truth. If it is an animal origin, if it came from the wet market, it doesn't change my life. It doesn't. I genuinely, there's a mystery that I think there should be
accountability. That's what I wanted to ask you about, Emily. Revelations coming out. So many years have passed. You're saying that now this revelation that they had not published all of the viruses they had at present and could have had a progenitor to the COVID virus that ultimately ended up killing so many scores of people globally. Are we at a point where, knowing that is the case, there's still a possibility, if that is in fact true, if there was a COVID, has so much time elapsed that basically all evidence is gone, and that the evidentiary crumb trail that could have actually led to accountability for some of these institutions is basically up in smoke, which is now why Vanity Fair, an outlet that has a particular amount of interest in lab leak origin, at least these kinds of pieces.
That is a matter of some debate. So I remain optimistic that we can get those sequences. I think the fact that Daszak was forced to admit yesterday that there could be unpublished viruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology provides an avenue for we the public and NIH to uncover every stone. We have FOIAs submitted to GenBank. It's sort of the world's leading repository for genetic sequences for metadata. So say a virologist found something like SARS-CoV-2, submitted it, and then deleted it. We want to see that. So I think the pandemic, we kind of owe it to the public. We can, but there are a lot of people, even who believe it started at the lab, who are saying China deleted all the data, and we'll never know. So I think that's a matter of some debate. But on the accountability piece too, in his testimony yesterday, he gave some pretty frightening comments. I don't think he's ever been made to answer really critical questions, and he's was very defensive and sort of in denial about the fact that the FBI and the Department of Energy both believe that this could be a lab leak. And the things that he was saying, doing just as sort of, he totally denied that there was any Chinese military involvement at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He denied that a lot of his research should be subject to more rigorous regulations because of what I think is a flimsy loophole. So this is not internalized the fact that improve our biosecurity, biosafety in response to the possibility that 20 million people died because of a lab leak. And so the longer we go without transparency and accountability, the more federal funding people like this can continue to receive. They have indicated they continue to take risks in their research. And I think after the pandemic experience, that is intolerable, frankly. So,
Dr. Frankenstein, unrepentant is the joke I make. Thank you for your journalism and for helping us work through this. We really appreciate it.
Whistleblower who alleged Spirit leadership had ignored manufacturing defects on the 737 MAX has suddenly died. This is the second Boeing whistleblower to have died in the last 2 months as the company. The Seattle Times first reported that Joshua Dean, auditor at supplier Spirit Aerosystems, died Tuesday, 45 years old, from a fast-spreading infection. Dean had previously filed a complaint with the Federal Aviation Administration alleging there was, quote, serious and gross misconduct by senior quality management of the 737 production line.
Dean was filed a complaint with the Department of Labor alleging that retaliation for raising concerns about the company's manufacturing plant. The news comes as journalist and activist Cory Doctorow reports that in a non-union shop in Charleston, South Carolina, where Boeing 787 Dreamliner is manufactured, there's a cage full of defective parts that have been pulled from production because they are not airworthy. Doctorow reports that hundreds of those parts were secretly pulled from that cage and installed on operating aircraft.
And other airlines undermined Biden's promise of automatic refunds on flights, according to new reporting by The Lever. For context, the Biden administration announced a new rule last week that promised if airlines cancel or significantly delay flights, passengers will automatically be given their money back without having to go through the cumbersome process of requesting it.
Now, just days later, though, 4 members of Congress who oversaw advancing legislation that could potentially reimpose on passengers. The catch, these lawmakers were the 6th largest congressional recipients of campaign cash from the airline industry in the current election cycle.
Ooh. The lever names the lawmakers: Republican Senator Ted Cruz, Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell, Democratic Representative Rick Larson, and Republican Representative Patrick Bear.
As always.
Look, exactly. News that Biden had managed to do something that was just good news for consumers, not having us be hamstrung by corporations and having to jump through all these hoops to get reimbursed for when the airline messes up and causes some delay in our flight plans, was the kind of, frankly, basic, populist, we could really help a candidate who wasn't quite as is generate some positive goodwill in the public.
Now it seems like that's not even going to happen, specifically because of the lobbying efforts of the airline industry capturing enough members of Congress to try to overturn this basic common sense sort of a rule.
What do you make about the death of yet another person, frustrated former employee? Obviously, job is a difficult experience that can exacerbate your bad health outcomes, something like that. So maybe it's just a coincidence, but obviously we talked about the mysterious to many people circumstances of the death of the other whistleblower who believed to have killed himself.
What Cory Doctorow was writing about, and I strongly encourage people to read this. So the allegation here is that there was a cage of parts that had been marked as defective. When parts are pulled from a plane and put into this cage, they're permanently marked so there can be absolutely no confusion, and they will not be reintegrated into airline craft.
Shouldn't they just throw those away?
Cory runs through in this piece is how the culture shifted radically when it merged with McDonnell Douglas in the late 90s. Douglas was known for its culture at that aviation firm of being extremely driven by pure financial motives, whereas Boeing had historically been known for having really high quality engineers and making really high ownership was very frustrated with this, and apparently knowledgeable and capable engineers, hyper talented a-holes or something like that, and wanted to get rid of them, and was frustrated by the fact that they kept gumming up their ability to simply use prioritize a profit motive over safety or quality. Okay, cut to that. That's the circumstances here. Cut to now. They're supposed to be offloaded forever. One of the things managed to do is to convince the government that it should do its inspections, not have it outsourced to the FAA. At that point, you're basically in charge of reviewing checking your own work. The new culture of Boeing, and the new culture of Boeing is obviously going to lead to people cheating. Now, here's where they messed up. The last whistleblower, the one who's alleged to have killed himself, John Barnett, who is nicknamed apparently was Swampy, and he's referred to as Swampy throughout Cory's piece, was one of the people who and he was not corrupt. He was part of the Boeing old guard. Red flags about these kinds of things. There was this enormous amount of pushback. He was fired and cut to now we know that he's being alleged to have killed himself in the car. But one of the discoveries was that the parts that were discarded and had big permanent red marks on them ended up integrated into God knows how many planes that are currently in the sky right now. That is what's going on at Boeing. This is a huge bombshell realization.
And safety and profits should not necessarily be in. The company is not shielded from liability. In a purely market operating system, if the product, the plane, whatever is being delivered, is there's an incentive to have it be nicer, safer, better, more efficient, so that you want to fly in those planes, or the airlines want to buy those planes or use those planes. All of that artificial intervention that prevents an airline or the manufacturer of the airplane that shields them from the harms associated with having sold people a defective product, then you end up, which is exactly what happens in the airline industry, the time we were describing the total capture by people in a regulatory sense, in an accountability sense, and you get, we can continue making defective planes. Consequence from it, because what can anyone do about it?
Well, corporate corruption and the corruption of our politicians is certainly an issue, but the fact that there is no alternative for the consumer because it's a monopoly is also a really big problem. Boeing is the last American plane manufacturer. There's nowhere else to go, and the enmeshment of Boeing and the government is so complete. Where, of course, they're very rich, they're very powerful, but also the government has entangled itself in an investment in Boeing, providing it with a much-needed resource, not just commercial planes, but military planes as well. So there's a lot going on here, and I think people should be raising questions about why it is that these mergers were allowed to happen to completely diminish the ability for consumers to have real choice here. Moreover, to your point about the airline companies were forced to internalize their costs, then they would be incentivized to be safe. Good point, but the problem is that there is no actual efficiency in the market. When you are making assessments about what the value of a life is, that's incredibly subjective. Don't ever penalize companies sufficiently to make it not simply worth their while to let people die and then recoup. You're not going to get a court saying a human life is worth however many billions of dollars it would take for one of these airline companies to actually change its behavior.
I mean, the courts have said it's worth, what, 14 million or something like that?
What a life? And it depends on, they base it on your earning potential and things. Person to person. It's a cruel thing to have to estimate. But one of the problems is, and why some law and economics folks, like the professor that I had, in fact, in law school, push for stricter liability standards, is because, one, it's difficult oftentimes to prove liability and causation in the first place, and maybe people get off the hook that way. That's what happens with a lot of these. Palestine. If someone gets cancer 10 years from now, how can something that happens, as opposed to the fact that cancer just happens to folks sometimes?
That's a little different than the door breaking out the plane and getting sucked out.
Sure, but also, you know, they can say, I did the review, I checked, I followed all of the rules in terms of the now internal Boeing checks that they're obliged to do for safety. So if you follow the rules, this is part of what the perniciousness around some of these HRDI programs are. They're not there to actually create equality in the workplace. They're there to have something that the companies can say, I checked this list off, so you can't say I was actually being discriminatory. I did everything I was supposed to do under the law. So yeah, a lot of red flags going off here. I'm really grateful for the lever to be continuing to cover this, and including specifically the congressional corruption angle, because the names of the people that are directly involved in doing something like unwinding a really good, finally good policy from Joe Biden, make it easier for you to be reimbursed when you have a flight canceled on you. They can't even let us have the good small things.
More rising right after this.
Questions. Questions oral, the honorable member from Regina Capel.
When will the Prime Minister make it illegal to smoke crack in a hospital room? Just the date, please.
Just the date, please.
The Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the province of BC made a request for a temporary pilot project. BC now has concerns about that project, which we share. We are now working together to address those concerns. Opioid addiction is a tragedy that has affected far too many Canadian families. We have to work together to solve it, not score cheap partisan points off the pain of Canadians.
Say numbers. Just say any numbers.
In Canada.
The honorable member from Regina Capel.
Because of this
It
government's
can't
decision, it is no
Telling
longer illegal to
Fucking can't count.
meth or shoot up
Can't count. Our Prime Minister can't read.
Columbia, like parks, hospitals, and public transit. The British Columbia government has now begged the Prime Minister to reverse this decision. So, simple question. When will the Prime Minister once again make it illegal to smoke crack in a hospital room? Just the date.
The Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, we believe in working together with Canadians to solve our country's most pressing problems. That's why earlier this week I was in touch with Premier Eby, and I assured him that we share his concerns and we are working urgently together to address them. And let's remember, opioid addiction is a tragedy which is afflicting so many Canadian families. Let's work together to help them, not score cheap partisan points.
The honorable member from Regina Capel.
Dangerous addictions are hurting Canadians. After this government's decision to change the law, overdose deaths shot up and drug-related crime went simple decision to make. So one final time, Mr. Speaker. On what date will this government make it illegal to smoke crack in a hospital room? Just the date.
The Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, unlike
Mr. Speaker.
I've actually been in touch with the Premier of BC.
Oh, I thought you were going to say crackheads.
Pressing issue. And unlike the Conservatives, we are working collaboratively with the province of BC. We share their concerns, and we are working together.
Is that a date? That was good.
What we're not doing is fundraising.
What you're not doing is your job in any way, shape, or form.
Every day,
That's what I was
radical
doing.
Prime Minister dithers on the deadly experiment of legalizing hard drugs is another day that people die. It's currently 6 a day in British Columbia. After 9 years of this Prime Minister, Quebec is not immune to this crisis, which affects every part of Canada. I quote the Journal de Montréal. Crack use is exploding in Montreal, and we'll be seeing more and more of it in public places. Will the Prime Minister put an end to his extremist experiment in legalizing hard drugs? No to any expansion in Quebec. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance. Mr. Speaker, British Columbia has asked for a pilot project. British Columbia now that we share, and that is the reason for which we will be working urgently in close collaboration with the province to meet these concerns. Mr. Speaker, these are tragedies for families throughout Canada. We need to put partisanship aside when it comes. The Honourable Member for Ménil-Conti-Clérable. It's not partisanship to talk about syringes on the floor, degrading scenes and outbursts, a stone's throw from a school in Montreal. Now that we know that the radical experiment in legalizing hard drugs in British Columbia by the Prime Minister, supported by the Bloc Québécois, by the way, was catastrophic and deadly, the Bloc East MP for Julian said in this House that the hope is that this pilot project will pave the way. The MP for Rimouski said, we in the Bloc Québécois are deeply convinced that this is a step in the right direction. Quebec doesn't want this. Can the Prime Minister assure this House that he will not follow the Bloc Québécois? Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance. Mr. Speaker, the opioid epidemic and addiction is a tragedy that we have to fight together by giving a priority to the health and safety of Canadians. But Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are just saying that our policy is extremist and radical. Do you know, Mr. Speaker, what is extremist and radical? White supremacy policy. Misogyny is radical. And so it's time for the Conservatives to denounce those policies that are truly extremist and radical. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. La Presse reported today that CBC's management is planning a rapprochement between the English network and Radio-Canada. Radio-Canada is not in crisis. Not necessarily comes with concessions, and these concessions will be made at the expense and creators. It necessarily means taking away a bit of our cultural identity to assimilate it with that of English Canada. This is a dangerous, slippery slope. Can the Prime Minister reassure French-speaking Quebecers and Canadians that the government has absolutely no intention of merging CBC and Radio-Canada? The Honourable Deputy Minister, Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance. A big thank you for the question, first of all, because we fully share the concerns of all Canadians, especially the concerns of Quebecers when it comes to the French language, when it comes to Quebec culture. And I can assure all Canadians that French broadcasting will not be affected. That's a priority for us. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, we have a proposal. Instead of bringing CBC and Radio-Canada closer together, we should make them independent of each other. CBC has its challenges. Radio-Canada has its own.
The two have neither the same cultural identity nor the same audience nor the same corporate culture. These are two completely separate entities. But what seems approached by the Liberals, by the way, is to weaken Radio Canada in order to strengthen. In the long term, this means assimilating the French language public broadcaster, while turn it into two completely separate crown corporations. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker,
we share people's concerns with regards to the French language in Canada, and with regards to French culture, and with regards to Quebec culture in Canada. On this side of the House, we will always work as hard as we can to French language, Canadian and Quebec French. We will always support Radio Canada. The Honourable Member for Rosemont-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, another report, another failure. With this Minister for the Environment, the Wheel Canada is going to miss its GHG emissions targets. No wonder. Everyone will remember the purchase of Trans Mountain, $34 billion money in one big pipe. And still, billions gross just like that for the oil companies, gobbling up public money, polluting and destroying our climate. The Minister of the Environment should be proud. Can the Liberals take responsibility for once and stop pretending to be interested in the climate crisis? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Finance.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker has done more in the change than any federal government in the history of Canada. We've put a price on pollution. We have a massive industrial program to the tune of $93 billion to stimulate our green transition. We are and we should be proud of what we do, and we know that we can and will do more.
The Honourable Member from Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have been letting the ultra-rich off the hook for years. But thanks to the NDP's capital gains changes, the wealthiest will pay a little more. And the Conservative leader doesn't like this. Maybe that's why he's getting wined and dined tonight by Bay Street billionaires at a Cash for Access fundraiser. Like the Liberals, the Conservatives would rather hand out billions to wealthy CEOs as people really need. Why are the Liberals maintaining the corporate giveaways?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I am really glad that the member opposite has raised an issue about which the Conservatives have been notably silent. And that is our increase in the inclusion rate on capital gains. We agree with the member opposite that it is just not fair for a nurse or carpenter to pay tax at a higher marginal rate than a multimillionaire. But I agree with the member opposite. I think the Conservatives support that kind of unfair tax policy.
The Honourable Member from Kamloops, Thompson Caribou.
The Liberal Minister for legalizing hard drugs is misleading Canadians. Yesterday, she told Canadians that Liberals were waiting for further information from British Columbia in response to BC's request to end this legalization experiment. Yet, just yesterday, the BC minister responsible told us that they had responded to the government in just a few hours. This, when BC had 2,500 overdoses in just 1 year. Why are the Liberals misleading Canadians, and will they end their radical drug policy?
For addictions and mental health.
Mr. Speaker, the opioid is affecting communities and families across this country, and it's a tragedy. That is why the BC government approached the federal government for a 3-year pilot program. BC communities are facing extremely serious challenges, and people are dying from deadly street drugs, and public consumption is a concern. BC is amending their proposal, and we are supporting them in this work, Mr. Speaker, because that's what we do. We partner together to save lives.
Speaker,
The honourable member from Kamloops Thompson.
They did partner together. They partnered together for a radical policy that has led to countless deaths. Imagine an elderly woman in hospital having to sit beside somebody, lay beside somebody who is smoking crystal meth.
Wait.
The honourable member to start again. I'm hearing some voices from the far end of this room. And I'm asking start this question from the top. The honourable member from Kamloops Thompson.
I've never even doing this. I'm fully a Brad.
The minister is correct. The Liberals have partnered with some.
I'm literally about to pull a rat.
To create a crisis of unprecedented proportions.
Not bad ish.
Dying due to their radical policy. After 9 years, this illiberal NDP government is flooding the market with free drugs. This is happening to our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers, our children. They are all being fueled with addiction of the free drugs. Will the Prime Minister reverse course and end his radical experiment of legalization?
I can't believe I'm doing this. Hawks.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we work with our provincial jurisdictions to ensure the health and safety of Canadians in the face of the Mr. Speaker. All those who are involved in saving lives, Mr. Speaker, we want the same thing: public safety and access to public health care services for those who need it. You would cut everything. We are here to save lives.
Before I pass the microphone again, the minister, for the honourable member from Kelowna Lake Country, I'm going to ask all members, please, to hold your comments until you're recognized to have the floor. The honourable member from Kelowna Lake Country.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal minister responsible for legal hard drugs in British Columbia isn't being straight with Canadians. Yesterday, she said she's waiting for more data from BC to decide if she would reverse her decision to legalize drugs like cocaine, opioids, and fentanyl in parks, playgrounds, and hospitals. The BC NDP confirmed yesterday they answered the Liberal government's request for more data within hours. After 9 years of this Prime Minister, drug deaths tragically rose 380%, as if that wasn't enough data. Why won't the Liberals be honest with Canadians and just end their radical drug policies?
Minister for Mental Health and Addiction.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we speak to our provincial counterparts and those who are the experts and with lived and living experience. The opposition, the member from Carleton, won't even meet with Mom Stop the Harm or other experts and those who are advocating for their families and their lives. We continue to work with our BC counterparts. They have provided amendments to their proposals, and we are working together to face the public consumption issues.
The honourable member from Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I speak to residents in my community, and the minister isn't listening to British Columbians. She didn't listen to BC mayors who wanted to stop open drug use in their community a year ago. She's not listening to BC parents horrified to find crack pipes and needles near schools and playgrounds. A student project from a school community had students writing to me about issues important to them. Unbelievably, crime and open drug use was the #1 issue. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Why won't these Liberals be honest with Canadians and just end their radical drug policy?
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health and Addictions.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives aren't genuine with Canadians about their care or concern for those who are dying from the toxic drug supply. The opposition leader talks a big talk about investing in treatment. The Conservatives cut 2/3 of their drug treatment fund when they were in power, Mr. Speaker. They only focus on treatment and recovery. They don't focus on safe consumption sites. They don't focus on harm reduction as healthcare. Mr. Speaker, we need to partner with everyone. When will they listen?
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal minister responsible for legal hard drugs is misleading Canadians. Drug overdoses are now the leading cause of death among youth aged 10 to 18 in British Columbia. Just yesterday, she said she was waiting on more information from the BC NDP government, which the province said they delivered within hours. How much more information does she need to end their radical and extremist policy, which is putting the children of British Columbia at risk.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservatives, I have been in touch with the province of BC. BC requested the pilot project, and I was in touch this week with the Premier of BC. He and his government have serious concerns about the pilot project. We share those concerns, and we are working together with BC to address them. But I do want to say, making political hay out of the pain of suffering Canadian families is simply irresponsible.
The Honourable Member from Mission Matthew Fraser Canyon.
Mr. Speaker, this government is supposed to be in the business of protecting children, not killing them with exposure and access to hard drugs. The RCMP has confirmed that legal hard drugs are being sold on the black market. In Abbotsford, the Soccer Association has to regularly sweep the needles for pitch. The Legion and many businesses in Mission have to deal with crack smoke every day. When will this government do the right thing and cancel their ideologically extreme experiment to legalize hard drugs and start protecting BC's children?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, as a mother of 3, including teenagers, I care so much about Canada and Canadians, and I agree, opioid addiction is a tragedy. It is a public health tragedy, and it is a public safety tragedy. But let me tell you what is putting the public safety of all Canadians at risk. Consorting with white supremacists and misogynists. That is a public safety risk. The Conservatives have an opportunity today to disavow that. They should do it.
The Honourable Member for Juliette. Yesterday, the National Assembly adopted a historic unanimous motion. It, and I quote, denounces the refusal of the New Democratic, the Conservative and the Liberal parties of Canada to recognise the principle of respect for Quebec's areas of jurisdiction and to grant Quebec the right to opt out with full compensation. This is the very first time that the National Assembly of Quebec has unanimously blamed each and every Federalist party by name because they're all working against Quebec. When the government says it is working hand in hand with Quebec, are they working hand in hand rather with these parties against Quebec? The Honourable Minister for Transport. Mr. Speaker, going against the Bloc Québécois isn't going against Quebec because we are working with Quebec on housing, on seniors, on young people, on childcare, so that kids can go to work with their stomachs full. But the Bloc Québécois is always against all of this. They do the opposite of what we promise for Quebecers. We're trying to fight for seniors. We're trying to fight against climate change, and they always vote against. So shame on them, Mr. Speaker. Before the member for Joliette has the floor, I would like to encourage members in this House to not interrupt the person who has the floor. And I hope that this will be applicable as well for when the Honourable Member for Joliette takes the floor, which is now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's historic, this unanimous motion.
Hello.
Hi, baby.
What's that?
So I think that the transmission of the truck just went down.
Oh no.
So we're in the front of the job site and we're waiting for Derek to come and take a look at it.
Okay.
But after that, he's gonna drive Buddy at the first few miles. You think you maybe come pick me up over there?
Okay.
Are you busy?
No. I'm just waiting for you. I made prep dinner and there's a bath ready in a joint.
Really?
Really?
You're amazing.
Oh, it's gonna be cold by the time you get back.
Well, we're supposed to be leaving. We're supposed to drive me home, but.
But yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. Like.
Put the truck on drive, and then nothing happened. Like the car went down. Well, actually, I have to get gas on drive, so the truck starts, but then you put it on drive and.
And you did it like a couple times?
Yeah. So he said it's probably the transmission. Anyway.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, so he's probably gonna come drive us there.
What if you put it in neutral?
Huh?
What if you put it in neutral or revert? Like, what if did you try it in a different gear? Like in a try to put it in first even?
Well, we didn't try it on the reverse.
Or like,
Did you try reverse?
or try other gears?
Yeah, try other gears.
Just see if it does the same thing. Just curious.
Because last time I was with Max, and then the truck did something, and you fixed it.
Oh, jeez.
So you go reverse is good? You're back drive. We're good?
Hey!
Fixed it. Okay, I'm gonna call that.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
You guys suck at this. Like, you didn't even fucking try. I should have fucking been a mechanic. I'm amazing. I'm not driving all the way to fucking Fairview. I already have to drive all the way to Ganawage. Are you kidding? I'm asking you to get pulled over, bro. Oh, the fuck bird that is. That's a fucking annoying ass bird. Okay. What with pipes? Oh, I'm such a good toasted too. That'd be too much. Where the? Oh, right. Yeah, it's coming. Hang on. Oh.
Canada's Liberals have been denounced by their Liberal allies in Quebec. The NTP was denounced by Quebec Solidaire. The Conservatives, well, they weren't denounced by their ally, well, because he has no MPs, and Quebecers don't vote Conservative. But they too were condemned by the unanimous National Assembly of other stripes. All the elected representatives, you can see that all the Federalist elected representatives in Ottawa are working to undermine Quebec's ability to make their own social choices, or societal choices rather. Does the government realise The Honourable Minister for Transport. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives do have an ally. It's the Bloc Québécois. It's the Bloc Québécois, Mr. Speaker. They always seem to vote together. There's a bit of malaise in that corner. When one makes a promise and one does. Promises are shattered. Promises them and voted for them. They say they want to fight for seniors, they say they want to fight for the environment, but they always vote against. Why? Because they just simply follow the Conservative plan. The Honourable Member for Joliette. The government in this budget wants to tell Quebecers how to run Quebec, whether it's in healthcare, housing, or any other area. Liberal Conservative NDPs, by refusing to amend the budget, the three parties have eminently shown that they want to become the puppet masters of Quebec. However, yesterday's unanimous response from the National Assembly was clear. We, Quebecers, still want to be masters. And see that Quebecers do not accept. The representatives of the neighbouring nation should decide Quebecers' priorities instead of Quebecers. The Honourable Minister for Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in my riding, a number of our priorities is have dental care. And big news, since yesterday, thousands of people in my riding and throughout Quebec now have access to dental care. Affordable and quality dental care. This is huge news for all Canadians, and it's great news for all Quebecers as well.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
The Liberal government's dangerous drug policy in BC allows people to smoke crack on a public bus, to shoot up next to a park with people with children playing there, to blow smoke from meth in the face of a nurse in a hospital. Now we learn what the Liberals want to do to Toronto, what they've done to BC. The leader of the opposition sent the Prime Minister a letter asking him to reject Toronto's request. Are the nurses in Toronto getting people who smoke meth in hospital rooms, or will they finally reject the request?
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health and Addictions.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are completely committed to working with communities across this country and facing the opioid crisis and the tragedies that are happening to so many families. Every request is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. The member should know this. Toronto Public Health has not submitted a proposal that dual objectives of public health and public safety, which throughout addressing the opioid crisis. Every level of government, including the province, must be engaged in this process, and we continue to work together.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Speaker, their plan is killing 22 Canadians. Opioid deaths have doubled in this country in just 2 years. I believe that the Minister from Toronto wants to expand this lawlessness into her own city. Otherwise, she would just say no. I'll give her an opportunity to just say that. One more opportunity to stop this extremist experiment on the streets of Toronto.
The old just say no fucking. How cool.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a minister, I'm a Toronto MP, I'm a Toronto worker. I know, as everyone in this house should, that the opioid crisis is a tragedy, and there are no families in Canada that are untouched by it. The BC pilot project was requested by BC. BC has serious concerns. We share those concerns. We are addressing it. There is no pilot project anywhere in Canada, and the BC experience should and will be instructed.
The Honourable Member from Durham. Mr. Speaker, it's been 24 hours since
the
opposition sent the Prime Minister a letter asking him to reject Toronto City Hall's request to legalize hard drugs. And we're getting no serious answers from this NDP Liberal government. After seeing death and disorder in BC, why can't the Prime Minister take the no-brainer and say no? At what time today can we expect an answer to Toronto City Hall?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I think the members opposite were not listening to my previous answer. The only pilot project in Canada is in BC. BC has serious concerns. We share them and we're acting urgently together to resolve them. There are no other pilot projects anywhere in Canada. I think all Canadians are aware of the BC experience and need to take it into account. But you know what, Mr. Speaker? We've invested $200 billion in the healthcare system. They voted against it.
Yes. The honourable member from Fort Moody, Coquitlam.
Yeah. People in Fort Moody, Coquitlam are struggling to keep up with the skyrocketing rents and grocery prices. Yep. Meanwhile, the Conservative leader is schmoozing with Canada's wealthiest, the $3,500 a year club. This is the guy who said he'd cut dental care and pharmacare in favor of keeping billion-dollar corporate hangouts. Yes. And the Liberals are no better. They're letting big grocery CEOs rack up obscene profits while Canadians go hungry. When will the Liberals stop this corporate greed?
The Honourable Minister for Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. Mr. Speaker, in the recent federal budget, we put forward a plan to establish fairness for every generation that's going to ask the wealthiest to pay a little bit more so we can fund the things that really matter to people who have been struggling the last couple of years. We've got plans to reduce the cost of living by reducing the cost of housing, by solving the housing crisis. We've got a plan to launch a national school food program to make sure that hungry kids can put food on the table. And as I give this answer, the Conservatives jeer because they
you're the worst.
that are going to help vulnerable people in this country. We will stand up for the middle class. We will stand up to vote for the vulnerable.
What's up, Bobby?
The
Noodles?
honourable member from the non-rule Edie Smith.
Mr. Speaker, while rich CEOs make record profits, families in the Nanaimo Lady Smith can bake food on the table. And what's the Conservative leader doing about it? Well, he's hosting a fundraiser with Canada's richest elites that costs thousands just to step through the door. It's no wonder when he was in power, the biggest corporations got $60 billion while cutting services to British Columbians. And the Liberals, they maintain will the government end these corporate giveaways.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I would agree with my colleague. It is disturbing to see the leader of the opposition siding with big corporate at a time where, Mr. Speaker, all Canadians should be united to put pressure on the grocery in this country, Mr. Speaker. If they are really honest about caring for Canadians on the other side, Mr. Speaker, let them speak up. Let them tell the Loblaws and Walmart to adopt the grocery code of conduct in this country, Mr. Speaker. If we speak with one voice, we're going to help the lives of Canadians. Are they going to do it?
The honourable member from Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, Halifax is home to thousands of researchers with limitless potential and is essential to provide the support necessary to fully unleash that potential. Halifax researchers are making advancements in ocean science, brain repair, lithium-ion battery technology, pediatrics, and so much more. Their work contributes to the economic and social prosperity of Canada and improves the lives of all Canadians.
Hi.
Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry,
What's
please
up?
tell us how Budget 2024
Is hot dog?
will support research and researchers in Halifax and across Canada. Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, what a great question from a great member, Mr. Speaker. This language has been advocating for research and science in this country, Mr. Speaker. Canada Research Institutes are our greatest resource in this country. Researchers at Dalhousie, Mr. Speaker, are pushing the boundaries of brain health, big data, and ocean research. In Budget 2024, we invested $3.4 billion in our world-leading talent, Mr. Speaker. Students will see increased
Oh my god, Christian, shut the fuck up. God, she's so fucking annoying though.
The Honourable Member for Changabour, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, interest on the debt is skyrocketing and will continue to do so while spending remains out of control. And the Bloc continues to support these liberal centralizing policies that are driving up the cost of living. For example, on December 13th, the Bloc voted for over $20 billion in budgetary items. When will the Prime Minister supported by the Bloc stop wasting money so that Quebecers can start enjoying a decent life again? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to finally have a question on the economy.
And
Because
just the
this
saddest
gives me
dog
the
in the world, Jack.
opportunity to share some good news from the Governor of the Bank of Canada. He said today that we have gone through a long road in the fight against inflation, and recent progress is encouraging. The message to Canadians is the following. We are getting close to the goal. This is good news thanks to the work of Canadians. Thank you for the opportunity. Honorable member from Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I'll remind the Minister of Finance that 48% of Liberal supporters finds that their government is not managing public finances well. That was in a recent Léger poll. Even worse, there's the Bloc, which pretends to be critical and to defend Quebec's interests. They voted for $500 billion in additional budget items. It's really, really, really expensive to vote for the Bloc, the party that supports this financial disaster. When will the Prime Minister, supported by the Bloc, stop their out-of-control spending and give Quebecers some respite? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our colleague is talking about poor management. Mr. Speaker, have you already heard that during the whole term of the Conservative leader when he was Minister of Housing, he built six affordable housing units throughout the country?
Hello.
In the writing of my colleague over the past few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're good.
What? What? Yeah?
Yeah, that's what we're good. The truck started, he's gonna come driving home.
Oh, okay. I thought we already established this.
Yeah, well, we're just confirming.
Okay.
Okay.
The dog is dying.
Yeah, I am too, so we're the two of us.
Oh, we have a bad day?
Long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Come on.
Bye.
Oh no. That was awkward. Ah. Okay, we're fine. Oh my god, my stomach is so full. Oh, I'm dying. Phone. Ugh. Oh my god. I ate way too much, way too fast. He's on his way there. Hurt.
I have an updated number.
What are you doing under the table?
22 affordable housing units that have been built in just his writing.
Why are you under there?
During the whole term of the Conservative leader as housing minister. The Honourable Member for Paul-Neuf-Jacques-Capté. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if I'm speaking to the Professor of the Université de Laval or the Procurement Minister. Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this Prime Minister, the cost of living has never been higher. People are being squeezed. Mortgages, housing, food, everything is more expensive. This Liberal government isn't worth the cost, and neither is the Bloc Québécois. Just a reminder, it was the Bloc that voted for $500 billion in budgetary items. We're talking about $500 billion in centralizing and inflationary spending that has been supported by the Bloc Québécois. When will this Prime Minister stop its waste so that Quebecers can skip the food banks and regain their dignity? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, once again, a good opportunity to talk about the economy. First, we have a responsible policy fiscally. We have a AAA credit rating, the highest possible, and I'll refer to the Bank of Canada's governor who's talked about the good progress on inflation. But the Conservatives, their only policy is austerity and cut. They want to cut daycares, cut school food programs, and cut Radio Canada CBC, which is so important for Quebecers. The Honourable Member for Montmagny-Lisette, Kamouraska-Rivière-du-Loup. Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of budgetary chaos, this government, supported by the Bloc, continues with its inflationary spending. They're throwing money out the window. The Bloc talks about the importance of health transfers, but they voted for $500 billion in centralizing spending, which has more interest costs than the money that goes to health transfers. The more this government spends, the more the Bloc supports it. When will the Prime Minister stop wasting taxpayer money? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, Canadians who are listening today understand that they have a choice. On one side of the House, Mr. Speaker, they hear the voice of a party that has no ambition, no vision, no plan for the future. On this side of the House, what people understand is that they have a Liberal government, a government that has a vision for the future, a government that has a plan for the coming generations, a government that has ambition for our country, Mr. Speaker. When I tell Canadians, is listen to what you're hearing. You'll see that on this side of the House, we will fight for you every day. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. We've learned that Canada's greenhouse gas emissions rose between 2021 and 2022. They're going up when they should be going down. But what's most catastrophic is that they're going to keep skyrocketing because Ottawa opened Trans Mountain yesterday. The Minister of the Environment has just turned on the dirty oil tap. Another 600,000 barrels every day are piped out of the oil sands for export. Can the Minister of the Environment explain to us how his new dirty oil pipeline will help us lower emissions? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question and remind him that greenhouse gas emissions are 44.
You love family life, right? Family is not a place where you receive trauma, is it? Growing up, you love family life, right? Family is not a place where you receive trauma.
Are 44 million tons lower in 2024 than they were before the pandemic. That's the equivalent of 13 million vehicles taken off our roads. Greenhouse gas emissions have never been as low in Canada in 25 years. So that's when Conor McGregor was born. So
that things are going very well, but I agree with my colleague there's much work to be done still. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Greenpeace told Radio Canada, CBC, that the missing link in the federal climate plan is a cap on emissions from the oil sector. The minister must be relieved that there's no ceiling on emissions because he would have banged his head on it with the Trans Mountain emissions. It's a reminder that Canada is the fourth largest petromonarchy in the world. With Trans Mountain, it consolidates its fourth place between Russia and Iraq at the top of the worst polluters. We know that the minister never dreamed of being a petromonarch. So will he ever put a limit on his country's greed for black gold? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague mentioned Greenpeace. Greenpeace in that same interview recognized that we are making progress in Canada and that this year's record is very good, but that more needs to be done.
Wow.
I'd like to remind my colleague that there's one country in the G20 that has put an end to fossil fuel subsidies, and that is Canada. We've committed to
Blame
Canada by
Canada.
eliminating
Blame
public funding,
Canada.
which no other country in the world has committed to doing, and the cap on greenhouse gas emissions is coming. We're the only major oil producer in the world to have proposed putting a cap on those emissions, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Navy Lethbridge, Mr. Speaker, after 9 years, the Bloc and the Prime Minister are not worth the cost. The Bloc has always voted with the Liberals on government budgets. We're talking about $500 billion in centralizing and inflationary spending, and that hurts. This spending increases the cost of living and keeps interest rates high. With the Bloc, Quebecers are going hungry. They're having trouble housing themselves, and they are hurting. Mr. Speaker, when will this Prime Minister, supported by the Bloc, stop wasting money so that Quebecers can once again afford decent housing and food? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I am really pleased to have another opportunity to refer to the Governor of the Bank of Canada, who shared very good news today with Canadians. He said, the message to Canadians is the following: we are getting closer to the goal. He's also said that it's our government's fiscal responsibility that has allowed him to stabilize inflation, and that will allow us to reduce the overnight rate.
From Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island, and Real Lakes. After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, the employment minister has been caught in shady lobbying, and we can see that this prime minister and his government certainly aren't worth the cost or the corruption. The minister was caught cashing checks that was lobbying his own government, his own ministry. How much taxpayer cash did this minister and his company shove in their pockets? How much? How much? How much?
Oh.
Speaker, the minister has always followed these very strict ethics rules that apply. Canada has one of the strictest ethics regimes.
Oh.
That is exactly what Canadians expect.
Oh, the UK is like a fucking. It's a joke. It's a fucking chaos. Pure chaos. People screaming. Order! Order!
We know that the fish rots from the head down, and this prime minister twice found guilty of breaking ethics laws, along with multiple members of his front bench and his back bench. We know that the minister tried to hide that he was getting money from his company that was lobbying his own government, even his own ministry, but he got caught. Global News reported it, and now we're asking him about it. So instead of having the government house leader protect him from his own accountability, his own actions, will he stand up today and tell us how much money he took? Speaker, I just gave that answer. Thank you. The honourable leader is the honourable member from Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands and Real Lakes. Oh, I'm sorry. I never knew I was so popular on this side. The honourable member from
Honourable member for Durban, Nasal. Mr. Speaker, as we approach Red Dress Day, which raises awareness of the alarming rates of violence.
Going calls for the introduction of a red dress alert system.
Oh, no
The
shit.
system would be crucial in promptly informing the public whenever an Indigenous woman, girl, or two-spirited person goes missing. Can the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations share with us what measures are being taken to address this critical issue? Thank you so much.
The Honourable Minister for Crown and Indigenous Relations. Mr. Speaker, I want to recognize the advocates, families, and survivors working tirelessly to press our government for urgent action. That includes the member from Winnipeg Centre and the Minister for Crown and
Dress Day, which raises awareness of the alarming rates of violence.
Join calls for the introduction of a red dress alert system. The system would be crucial in promptly informing the public whenever an Indigenous woman, girl, or two-spirited person goes missing. Can the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations share with us what measures are being taken to address this critical issue? Thank you so much.
the Honourable Minister for Crown and Indigenous Relations.
I'm taking you.
I want to recognize the advocates, families, and survivors working tirelessly to press our government for urgent action. That includes the member from Winnipeg Centre and the member from Oakville, North Burlington. Folks like Sandra Delorme, Hilda Anderson Pierce, Leslie Worley, Angela McDougall, Alison Braddock, Lorna Brown, and Denise Halfyard who are advancing the implementation of a red dress alert system. Their efforts are crucial in bringing Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit people home safely. And I thank the member from Dorval, Sheila South for our advocacy in the region. The $1.3 million in budget 2024, our government will put an end. The honourable member from St. Alberta.
Minister from Alberta is at the center of two corruption scandals. It has been reported that the minister is tied to what is to receive a staggering $110 million in federal contracts, and the minister is the director of a company that received a further $8 million of government contracts and is engulfed in allegations of fraud and wire fraud. So, how much money did this minister and his companies receive for these shady contracts?
Speaker, as I said earlier in response to our other honourable friend, the minister has always followed the strict ethics rules that apply to him as an elected official. Canada has one of the strictest ethics regimes in the world for elected officials, and that is exactly what Canadians expect. The minister has always conducted himself in an ethical manner that follows the spirit and letter of those rules.
That's right.
The honourable member from St. Albert.
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, the minister has been on the take with taxpayers' money. The minister retains a 50% stake in a company that is engulfed in allegations of fraud, and the minister continues to receive payments from the lobbying firm that received $110 million in federal contracts. So will the minister finally have the guts to stand in his place and tell Canadians how much he pocketed off taxpayers?
I will come back to this matter later, but board members, please, to be very careful about what they say about other honourable members. The Honourable Government Housing. Speaker, in this House, all members are entitled to be treated by other members with a presumption of being honourable. That is not what this member has just done. I would invite him to carefully consider the words that he just employed while doing a speech into a television camera, one that he would never do were we outside this chamber. And I would invite that member to be very, very careful with his words in the future. The Honourable
honorable member from Bradford, correct? After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, yet another Liberal minister is embroiled in the ethics scandal. This employment minister continued to serve as a director of a company that secured over $8 million in government contracts. And his former lobbying firm got direct access to the Prime Minister's office and the Finance Minister's office. Everyone who has their hands on the purse strings. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption. Simple question. How much did this minister or his companies receive since he's been in cabinet? The Honorable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I've answered that question, and I would once again invite members from all sides of this House to be very,
Who's here?
The Honorable Member from West Vancouver's Sunshine Coast, seat of Sarston.
Who's here?
2024 proposes
I have a fucking heart attack.
action plan on combating hate, which will support community outreach, law enforcement reform, tackle rise in hate crimes, enhance community security, counter radicalization, and increase support for victims.
I don't know, maybe.
Canadians realize
The roof is pretty bad.
is closing up.
This is a fantastic episode of Question Period.
Calories look like until I tried this. I thought I was eating healthy.
Like a really good episode of Question Period. Holy shit.
What happened up front?
What happened up front?
A piece of wood.
I didn't take it.
But where is there one missing?
Because I took it back.
Oh, okay. I was like, why did you just take one?
It's pretty wood. It's really nice wood though.
You can keep them all if you want.
No, because the other ones have like cracks in them a little bit.
Hi, Mr. Boo
He's been so sad.
I'm sorry.
Relax.
I missed you, baby.
Ow,
sorry for just
fuck.
running,
That's okay.
I felt better with it. I have to put my mason back to his place today.
Why?
Because he doesn't build scaffolding the same way I do. He has other tricks, which I like, which we're going to start using. But I just showed him how I was doing it. And then at some point, I told him to pull the thing with the rope. I said, I don't pull the shoe with the rope. I'm like, yeah, but that's how we're going to do it. I was like, I shouldn't be here fucking putting scaffolding up together. I should be layering bricks. So I waited for David to be further away. And then I went up to the roof and I told him, look, you got two choices. You can be part of the team, pick up the rubble as much as building scaffolding and putting bricks up, or you can just lay brick. I can just call you when the scaffolding is up and everything is ready for you, and you're gonna have small hours. You want hours, or you want to lay brick? Yeah, I guess I want some hours. So be part of the team and do like everybody else. I'm like, okay, do well.
You didn't have to beat anybody up. You didn't have to hit anybody with a tablet.
I didn't have to lyric. The problem's been solved. They were good.
You know what? But like I was like that my first couple jobs too. Like at Safari, when cleaning dog cages was just fucking brutal. It was like 8 minutes a cage, and like it was very painful.
God. Oh.
Smoke your joint.
Oh, no.
You'll feel better with the joint, though. Hi. Joint.
Joint. Smoke a fucking joint.
Prep dinner.
Hi, Mister. Hello. We can movie. Hello, we can movie. Oh,
Oh, hold the butt. It's been so sad all day.
I know. When you sent me that cabinet, I I couldn't make it wait to use the truck and go pick it up.
Yeah, no, and if the truck could potentially die, it's better that you guys just get the truck back. Like
Transmission oil is like almost empty in the thing. My
That's
God, you're
why-
amazing.
that's
Everybody's
why.
impressed. Everybody's impressed.
No, you don't even understand. The Trailblazer, I was impressed. Like, I literally was in the parking lot. I was like, yes, May!
Yeah, okay, last time. The truck, okay, do this, and that. I do this, and that. Bam, truck start. Okay, second time, yeah, fucking truck. Oh yeah, okay, so do this, and that. Okay, do this,
When
and
my
that.
mom
And
was
bam, it
too
works.
fucked up, she would get me to drive us back home.
With a shitty car.
Oh no, I only drove trucks. We did have shitty cars in between, but actually, honestly, the cars lasted probably a lot longer.
Because it's your trick is to start the truck with compression, but without having to put it on neutral and push it. You went reverse, and then you're on compression while you reverse, and then we could start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that
so
was
that just
amazing.
means it doesn't mean the transmission is high. It doesn't mean the transmission is kaput. It
No,
just means that it's
slid.
slipped.
Yeah.
If I know anything, I know fucking shit trucks. Like,
Yeah.
because I've been driving them since I was like 10.
My sandwich tasted like a pizza sub to me. It was amazing.
I'm glad you liked it.
These guys went to the Belle Province, and I'm like, yeah, usually I eat the smoked meat, but I have smoked meat every day of the week, so I don't eat it. And I'm eating my sandwich. That tastes like pizza. I like my sandwich much better than everything they were eating.
Huh.
This guy had a Michigan hot dog, and he had a poutine, and was like,
A Michigan? Who
Like-
orders?
yeah, it's hot dog with.
I know what it is, but it's just like, who orders that, honestly?
And not just that, like, is it
They're
really
like
from Michigan?
$6.
Is it really from Michigan?
And it's super like sloppy and gross.
Oh my goodness.
Ah. Gay.
Huh?
Gay.
Oh, why?
Wiener in your mouth. Get
That's
it?
not gay. That's called self-defense.
Ah.
Because I'm biting it off, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Ow.
Mister.
He's eating.
Mister.
Is he eating? He was eating. Oh, I think he just ate his treats. Is that what happened?
Yeah. Of course you do. Oh my god. I can't turn my head right more than this.
I'll go put more hot water in your bath. I said that to you on the phone.
Baby! Like, my brain feels like I smoked like 100 fucking M. Carroll Troy. I didn't understand it. So much stuff. Almost forgot. So that's leaf. No. Too much money on the table.
That's five tons of money on the table.
There's a fuck ton around the table. One's for burning leaf, I presume?
Yeah, I think we'll have to supper.
And what's the other one? Oh, really?
Rent. It's rent.
Oh, I saw the 20s. When you don't like someone, you give them $5,000 in 20s. I can't even count it. My arm's jammed by just doing this. My both arms jammed, and I'm fucked, and I can't count it.
We're gonna have to hang out with him. He's just dying currently. We only did one lap on our block, or one block on our walk.
I put you here because I can't go on the ground. No.
Like super, super dramatic.
Oh, poor Giacomo, eh? Like nothing's happening more than just not me in the house. Oh wow, that was quite the jump.
Well, when we got back, he just like sat in the middle of the walkway.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'll paint my doormat.
That's what I thought you sent me when I saw that you sent me an image.
Yeah.
I was sure it was gonna be an image of Jack sulking at the door. Baby,
huh?
I love you.
I
I don't deserve you.
Ah.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, but you bought me a house.
Yeah, but she'll give you a better house.
And you stopped doing crack. What more could I ask for?
She'll give you a bigger house.
See you later. And also you were raised by lesbians, so you're not a big hoe.
Oh, today I mentioned that to the other guy. He's like, oh, so that's why you and your girlfriend are doing pretty well and everything. I'm like, she says the same thing.
Yeah, no, the secret to a good man is 2 women.
Yeah. Dad needs to go to work. Dad go to work. Mom have a friend, and then raise a kid.
Yeah, but you did have male role models present. Your godfather.
No. My godfather only came in my life when I was...
The Christian dude. The 2 Christian dudes.
Yeah, no, but that's it. I'm the male figure model.
Yeah, that's true.
I took my model out of a woman. I do not have male models. I only have 4 women models that shape me as
4?
a man. So other men.
Who's the 4th?
Well, when they because when they separated,
Yeah.
they each had new girlfriend.
Oh.
So they were kind of there,
Oh.
But the 2 main, my godmother, which was the main.
Yeah. And then your mom.
And my mom was not in the. I only met my mom when I was 14, so she didn't raise me.
Yeah, but your adolescence is like.
My adolescence was incarceration. Like authority was not having a grip on me at that point because I didn't want it to fit in the mold. I didn't want to end up to live in Lone Gary, having my little life in Lone Gary like everybody else. Like I didn't want it to fit in that mold. So I had a lot of problems because of that. And every time you put a man as a worker or whatever for social services, didn't work until I had Jacques Bélanger. And Jacques Bélanger was sitting like a woman. He was very, very feminine, but he was married, had kids. My social worker, the only one that I listened to.
Okay, cool.
The only one that actually made a difference in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you do have fucking at least one male model.
But he was so effeminate. Literally not as a man.
Huh.
So I do not have any male models. Like for me, a male model was like all the wrestling fucking dudes. Because I was really hip at that time.
Ah.
So I'm like, I don't wanna be like that. I don't wanna be like that.
Oh, good.
So like I'm not a male, I guess. I'm a person. A person with a penis.
Well, ow.
Pudding beam! Hey, listen! No. No? Oh, I feel like at work. Same time, moving my head. Baby! Did you call the bread? I actually don't care. We eat it so fast it doesn't have the time to get dry. So leaf is leaf and the other one is wrench. So tomorrow morning.
What?
Tomorrow morning, is it okay to drive me at Fairview?
Sure.
So I guess you're gonna come pick me up at Fairview, so you don't have to go anywhere else. I told
Say
him.
it again. Sorry, it was.
So now you're just gonna have to drive me at Fairview like a hub place, and then you're gonna come pick me up there. Because he's gonna come pick up the other guy there at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
No?
Sure. Yeah, I'll drive you wherever.
Instead of having to go everywhere else.
I'll drive you wherever.
I know that.
What?
Too many?
It's possible.
I'm tired. Oh my god. Oh my god.
You've been counting wrong recently.
I'm counting wrong recently.
Just because you don't practice it. Like, it's normal. It's for everything. Everything. If you don't practice math, you lose it. If you don't practice French, you lose it. It's normal, yeah.
I reset to Derek. I said, so Derek, I recounted like you told me, and it was a pretty big mistake. Thank you again. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, hey, that's a pretty big mistake. Like $100 and something mistake.
And I want you to really, really think of that.
What?
Just consider that when thinking about how much Will took from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and don't ever forget that though, because like that was like, and for him to like, and it's only because you were withdrawing, Like, and every like 3 weeks of the month, you would go through withdrawal for like the first 3 months. And so you were very like not able to react unless I told you to react. And that's when you would react.
True.
But yeah, no, for him to be like, oh, the weed I gave you, the rides and the breakfast at my house that I gave you to, like, it's like, holy fuck you. Big fuck you. Like, to also fucking like don't insult my intelligence. Like, fucking the fucking nerve, honestly. That's what I'm more mad about. To minimize it, to like, you were fucking up and out the door. Like,
who does that?
Every fucking day.
Who fucking does that? You know?
Someone who's really dedicated to their job. Like, someone who's trying really, really hard. Like, because someone's expectations are like super fucking exaggerated. But he, like, I'll give him that. He had a good pitch. Like,
Did have a good pitch.
And I was pretty sold at first too. Like, but I also wasn't on crack or meth.
Maybe has been around the time.
Cool.
That's it. Where was the money?
Did he say what time he's gonna be here?
No.
Can you ask him maybe to come after work? That way I can just pick you up early?
Oh, no, I don't think tomorrow's going to be able to be an early day.
Okay, so I drop you off early?
Well, you dropped me off for 9:30 at Fairview
But
Mall.
does he usually come at 9:30?
Comes at 9:15.
Okay.
I will text him today.
Because I need to know what time he's going to be here so I can be here when he gets here. I'm not leaving like $1,000, like $2,000 that side.
No.
Oh, I pulled a rod today. Or, I mean, a Brad.
A Brad? What did you? You put some fucking bird falcon in there. Oh, you pulled a Brad! Actually pulled a Brad! Easy. I didn't know someone else could do that.
Because I'm like yelling at him and I'm like, I'm going to throw a rock at you! Neighbors probably think
found a bird that the blue jays don't like? Actually, Google it. And you fucking make that noise. Because it's true what he's saying. It works. Pigeons don't give a fuck.
Are they pigeons?
No, but the pigeons that you was trying to scare.
Oh, because they get fucking chased by cats, which is why they don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah.
They very much are not.
Oh, a bird of prey, whatever.
No, but I see the birds like fucking sitting right, like where the cat can't get it. I'm like, oh, if that cat jumps a little higher, like.
Yeah, but it's not going a little higher.
No, it's not.
It's gonna just fly away.
That orange cat is fucking so stupid.
Oh yeah, I know. Right?
I thought it was Mariette's cat.
No. Mariette's cat, Neptune. She left one day.
Someone picked it up. It was a pretty cat. I love orange cats, so.
Yeah,
but like that's why the gray cat at Fatale that got in my car, and she wanted fucking food, and I was just like, oh, you're kind of cute, but I don't want a cat, and you're a disgusting Fatale cat, which means you need to be fixed. You need to be defleed. Like that means fucking my dog would need flea drops. Like.
Also, David smokes weed. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
I found that out today. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? You know, we'd give you some weed to try. You know? So yeah, I'm more of a vape and I was like, oh, I got no still. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Got a guy.
Got a guy. So he's gonna look into buying some from us.
Fuck yeah.
Just need to bring him A sample.
We're getting new stuff.
Yeah.
White cheese. The ones I got last time, the little sample ones that I got last time. And Dom said his cost, I'm probably not supposed to tell you, but Dom said his cost is $50. So.
He's going to charge you 65. 70.
Well, he wouldn't tell me that, not assuming that I wouldn't obviously tell you. So he probably gets it for to be honest, or we're going to pull a Dom. He probably gets it for like fucking 45. Like.
No, it's
or
like,
probably
you know
even like fucking 40.
So you get a deal off of a batch of weed, and you can't put it to the ounce because it's too ridiculous.
Well, he's only going for pounds at this point.
Because you're like, it's gonna be like $12.50 an ounce, and you can't tell people that.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna put the value market down.
He's usually pretty honest with his pricing.
I don't care. Like even if he tells you 50, he tells you 60, but then he didn't pay anything for it. Who fucking cares? I'm not buying weed at SQDC.
Yeah.
Don't fucking care them. Charge me what you want. I know you're always gonna charge me less than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's why you don't hear your phone.
Oh. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Okay.
They have to go now, I guess.
Oh no, but before it closes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. When were you planning going down there?
Very soon.
Soon?
Yeah, why?
Okay, well, give me a call on your way back.
On my way back, okay.
Not just because I'm going to go check the car now, but if I can't take it, I'm just going to walk down to the mall. I just want to get some milk and some fucking Cokes.
Do you want me to bring you?
Well, see, Josh is supposed to come. I'm waiting on people, so that's why. I'm just trying to coordinate, not me going fucking crazy in the next couple hours, and just let me know when you're on the way back, please.
Okay.
You're not going to forget to go to Thompson's, right?
No, I won't forget.
Okay.
Because I'm going to get fucking blunts.
Right?
I'm going to try to get a box of blunts.
I don't pay through the nose for nothing. The people there at night, they're cashiers. They won't make you a deal.
You'll see.
$3 a pack. That's not $3.50 a pack. That's fucking stupid.
Well, it's better than me buying individual packs.
Hey?
It's better than me buying individual packs.
Whatever. Do whatever you want, man.
Okay.
I can't tell you what to do. It's just, it doesn't make sense. All I got to do is ask John his next order at Globe to get me a box or two.
I told you to do that, but Globe doesn't sell them anymore.
Yeah, but when he goes for his stuff, he picks up a box for me. It's not for the store.
No, but Globe probably doesn't supply them anymore.
Yeah, they do.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
The Juicy J's.
I don't know. He doesn't buy any. But they always had Juicy J's, so I'm assuming they still have some.
Until Quebec banned flavored papes.
Even when they were banned, remember? They still had them.
Oh, I thought that was just like a temporary thing. Getting rid of stock.
I just hope these guys are on time tonight because I have no patience. How is it outside?
Dry.
Is it still warmish? Or?
Yeah, it's all warm.
Alright.
Why don't you just wait for me? And I'll bring you to the fucking grocery store.
It's not, I don't know. I really just need a couple of things. I don't know who's coming when, so I'm just trying to get all the information I can.
Okay, grump grump.
Right?
Okay, grump grump.
Well, no, I'm not grump grump. I'm waiting on people. If you come back and you pick me up and have guys coming, I mean, I can't go out, so I'm just trying to do everything
Okay.
ahead of time. That's all.
Okay, I'll text you on my way back.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Back. So snippy.
You need a secretary.
What?
You need an AI secretary.
That was supposed to be me. You see my little notebook?
Yeah.
This one, holy shit. This one's like, I'm impressed. Like, I fucking ordered.
This is gonna be cool.
One. What's super cool? Face stubs? Face stubs.
That's the amount of planning on giving me.
Oh yeah.
That's the amount of week of work he's planning on giving me. Yeah?
Okay, sure.
I just said that today because you had a guy, you had a big stack, so you took 2 little stacks and gave it to us. And I look at it like, so, you happy? He's planning on keeping you for a while, eh? You should over a week. You're like, oh, I guess so. I'm like, well, if you will, yeah, you'll be able to use them.
That's what makes you a good boss.
Thank you, Larry.
You're better at being a boss than you're being a co-worker because you do too much.
I'm better at being a fucking legal worker and something crew than being a gangster, I can tell you that.
Well, you're a good leader.
Yeah, and then in the gangsterism, it's just negative leader all the time.
No, you're a bit mean and bossy sometimes, but.
Well, leading is leading. Like, you got positive leader, negative leader, so you keep a balance.
But you're not like annoying. Like fucking, even Rod was just like, what the fuck is up with this? Like, because like every hour, Will would stop us from working.
And give us a talk.
To give us a whole speech about like, if you're too fucked up on the work site, I'd rather you just like not like show up or like just like let me know like if you need like a little bit of stuff. I'm like, he fucking did this like every fucking hour. Even Rod was like, why does he keep doing this?
Well, I understand the first day, just so everybody's at the same page, and then you didn't do it at the same time to everybody. You do it again, everybody's there. Okay, fine, I understand. But when it's every day.
No, every hour.
Every time he feels like you're gonna talk.
Working. Like he's like, hey, huddle. Like I was like, okay, like, do you want us to work or not? And it could possibly be that he didn't want us working, like, so it takes longer. You know? But like the house down the street. Honestly, how long does it take to go to a fucking house? Dude, like, fucking, they're like maybe once a month. Like, doing some kind of, like, work on that house down the street. Like,
well, the same as when I was working with Keith and Alex. 3-4 days on a set of thing, and then we leave the thing for half the weekend because the crown is drying. That like, we went there. I'm not even a professional. I have Mason that like just get in the fucking company, and we cleared that job in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, in a day.
Well, if you can go to the gym, go.
David says he goes to the gym. Like, you go to the gym? I'm like, you'll see.
Work is your new gym.
I'm like, you won't need gym anymore. And then when you picked up all the brakes and put them in the truck this morning, you're like, oh my God, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have to go to the gym. Yeah, this is
real jobs. This is standard, bare minimum here.
Like the bricks are super heavy too, and I got the clamp, and I'm like, well, it's the end of the day, it's hard to work, but you know what? We don't slack. So I grab the thing with 8 brick on it, and I go with one hand, and they're like, there, carrying 4 bricks.
You know what? You should tell them about your last boss, honestly.
Yeah, I will. I will tell Larry.
Because, like,
Am I getting some arms? Is it me?
You always have arms.
Oh. I don't know. In my head, I'm still skinny from when I was doing a bunch of drugs. When my clothes don't fit, I'm like, hey, why my clothes don't fit, baby? What'd you do with my clothes?
Yeah, I shrunk your clothes.
I just got bigger.
Yeah.
I know you don't fuck with my clothes.
Well, it's not like I need you
Where? Studio?
There's little itty bitty spiders everywhere.
Where?
In the laundry room, so I can't do the laundry. That's why you need to fix the shop vac.
What you gave me is not good for what I need to do. You said the clip there is for that.
Sorry, what?
You gave me this.
No, but that's what it looks like. The piece. I looked it up.
I'll get onto it, baby. Don't worry. One thing at a time. Got the fireplace upstairs today. It's not that heavy. But we still brought it up. Not the fact that it's heavy. Like it was really big and awkward. For sure.
Good job.
My body feels like a ton of brick.
No. No.